I'm Katja Filada, Policy Officer. I'm a Policy Officer at Makati Business Club. So just a few reminders before we begin. For transparency, all attendees are required to have their first and last name and organization in their display name. Today's session is being recorded. We may also use all or part of it in our platforms and publications. We encourage you to get your questions in early, even while the presentation is going on. You may send in your questions by typing them in the chat box. When we call on you for your question, we'll turn your mic on. Please state your name and your organization before asking your question. Thank you. So to officially start the program, let me call on Makati Business Club Executive Director, Coco Alcuaz. Coco?
Thanks very much, Catch. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
I can hear you, Coco.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're all well. Welcome to the closing activity of Pasig's first assembly on how can Pasig Transport help more people bike to work. Pasig, thank you for welcoming Makati Business Club and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation to once again assist with this project. This is part of MBC's Digital Democracy Project, which helps governments consult with citizens using online tools to build consensus-backed policies. This activity is actually a combination of two MBC projects, Business for Biking and Digital Democracy. Business for Biking, sponsored by the Dutch Embassy, works with governments and companies to make biking easier for people who have to bike because other transport is expensive, takes too long, is unreliable, or is unavailable, or because they are delivery men and women that we rely on. Digital Democracy, as we said earlier, uses technology tools to bring people and governments together, the reverse of what tech is often used for these days. Both these projects were born during the pandemic, but we believe they remain as important today to help those who need help the most and bring people together and accelerate economic and social recovery. Thank you to Pasig and to Konrad Adenauer Foundation and to all of you for being so supportive. With that, I'm going to leave you in the good hands of my colleague, Catch. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thanks, Coco. So in the last 4 weeks, Pasig has initiated the conversation with workers in their city. So through an online citizen assembly, they asked what support workers and employees need to bike to work. So they want to help people bike to work as a means of alleviating the stress that the transport crisis has placed on a daily commute. The purpose of today's event is to present the results of the month-long survey with Pasig workers and gather your recommendations on helping people bike to work in Pasig. So 408 of you participated in the Polis survey. The findings will be presented by Layer Tech Data Science Fellow Maki Malimban, along with his team from National University. Following this, we'll place all of you in a breakout room to provide recommendations on what you think the government should do based on the sentiment gathered. Last, Anton C., the head of Pasig Transport, will share the government's response to the survey results and their plans to address the concerns raised. So just so you know, everybody in the room today, in today's session, we have cycling advocates, commute advocates, and members from the Pasig City Gender and Development Office, members and federation leaders from Abot Kamay ng mga kapansanan ng pag-unlad ng Pasigueño, and of course, HR representatives of businesses in Pasig. We want to thank all of you for participating in today's event. By sharing ideas and thoughts on what Pasig should do, you're helping the government improve mobility within Pasig, and of course, helping your workers too. To start, I'd like to now welcome Mark Emmanuel, or Maki Malimban, faculty at the College of Business and Technology from National University. Maki has completed the fellowship course on data science with Layer Tech. We also have their CEO, Prey Sangil, here in the room with us today. Layer Tech, along with Maki and his team, have analyzed the results of the Polis survey. Maki, looking forward to hearing what the voters had to say. Hi, Maki. Morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi, good morning. So let me begin the discussion of the result. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, let's begin. So understanding citizen sentiments on bike to work. So I'm here to discuss the result and analysis. Okay. So first, the objectives, we need to understand the sentiments. We need to look in the conversations and opinion groups to extract insights for Pasig LGU. Okay. Okay. About the mechanism, we use the poll list for the survey. So it's an online, it's anonymous. Okay. For the methodologies and analysis that we used the poll list. It has the principal component analysis. We also use the thematic analysis and Bigram word occurrence. Okay. As a voting summary, okay, our survey ran from July 11 until August 5, 26 days. We had a total of 403 voters. In the survey, we have 34 statements. We've got 280 comments from 159 participants. Okay. So from there, okay, nakapag-derive po tayo ng 3 opinion groups. No? Nakategorize natin yung ating mga participants. Okay? We have opinion group A, group B, and group C. So ito po yung mga difference. Yung group A po natin, sila yung mga participants na they are into biking. Sila po yung mga physically fit, sila yung mga currently, sila yung mga nagbabike to work. Sila yung mga not bothered by the heat, rain, and sweat, or kung ano mang effect ng biking. Okay? Well, opinion B, sila naman po yung mga bikers, pero they are not aware of the laws and regulations around Pasig LGU. Okay? So opinion group C, ito na po, another group, another category, sila naman po yung mga participants na they are not into biking. Masyado nilang iniisip yung effect, like yung rain, yung sweating and all. Sila po yung most likely they use the public transport in Pasig. So yan po yung tatlong opinion groups natin. Categorize natin yung ating mga respondents. Okay? We also use this one, ito pong word cloud visualization. So ito po yung top 10 most frequent word from the comment section. Ayan po. So kung makikita po natin yung top 3 words, it's make, lanes, and sana. So kung titingnan nyo po, no, make and sana, maki-infer po natin dyan yung ating mga participants, they are asking more. Yan po. Okay. We also use this one, thematic analysis. Meron po tayo for general themes and specific themes. So we use NLP or natural language processing po dito. Galing po mismo ito dun sa mga comments ng ating mga participants. Okay, so tingnan po natin. Explain ko lang po kung paano, no, very quick. Tulad po nito, kung makita nyo yung topic number 5, tinignan po natin yung mga topic words like for example, sana, Vargas, Calzada, Julia, protected. So tinignan po natin yung mga keywords na yan sa lahat ng mga comments. Then na-derive po natin yung label. Kaya nakuha natin yung request for road repair. So in terms of main concerns ng participants, ito po, no? Safety of riders, sharing the road, request for road repair. Sample po ng comment, no? Ito po. Sa Julia Vargas, may basa pa rin dyan na tumatagas sa kalsada sa side na papunta ng Tiendesita sa Home Depot banda. So lahat po ng mga comments na merong mga ganong keywords, yan po, kinuha po natin yan para ma-derive yung ating label. Okay? Another thematic analysis, ito naman po, para naman po sa suggestion, general theme. Yung mga participants po natin, they want more sidewalks and pedestrian lane. Implementation of regulations, parking and safety in offices. Meron din po tayong ginawa for specific. Main concern po ng participants, convenience in bike lanes, visual signs, and request for road repair. And specific po for suggestion related to laws and awareness, assistance for riders, and encouraging people to bike. So yun po, ginamit po natin dyan yung mga keywords. No? Okay. Another analysis po na ginawa natin, ito pong Bigram Network. So kung makikita nyo po yung mga red dots na yan, ayan, may mga, from comments din po ito ha. So ito po yung mga networks of words, and it denotes na ang gusto po ng ating mga participants, yan, implementing stricter regulations and imposing harsher penalties for violators. And makikita niyo po, nandito po, penalties, reckless, pedestrian safe, ayan, sort of those words po. Another Bigram Network analysis natin, ito naman po, it infers more on safety of the bikers. So kung makita niyo po yung mga network of roads, potholes, pedestrians, cyclists, enforcers, advisory, yan po. Okay? So, key highlight po natin, 68% ng ating mga participants na non-bikers are willing to bike to work if given a chance or concerns are resolved. So, napakalaki po niyan. Okay? So, takeaways po natin, voters are more likely to bike to work but uncertain of some road safeties. Yan. So concern po talaga nila is safety and protection. Participants are willing to compromise things such as timid weather and physical toll on the body due to biking to work. More of implementation of laws and regulations and also assistance from both government and private companies. Okay. So for recommendations po, ito po ang ating masasabi, awareness campaign and training on existing policy about biking. So matatarget po natin dyan yung kanina yung mga groups B, no? Sila yung mga bikers na not aware of the laws and policies. Another recommendation, considering the issue with heat and rain for groups B and C, maybe we can show them routes wherein they can bike with shade. Yan, siguro mga shaded areas po. Program campaign targeting groups B and C to encourage biking. Okay. As a recommendation for Pasig City, they can create biking routes with shade from heat and rain and siguro po yung information board for bikers. No? Yan po. So, points of uncertainty, ito, many doesn't know the cost of e-bike charging. Okay. So, thank you. Yan po ang end ng ating report analysis.
Thank you. Thanks, Maki. So bilang hindi ako masyadong maalam sa data science na-appreciate ko yung effort from you and from Layer Tech na mapadali yung pag-intindi sa results of the survey. So marami tayong nakitang takeaways, maraming insights na pwedeng i-take up with Anton C. of Pasig Transport, including awareness campaign for biking and noting the concerns for heat and rain. And yung need na ipakita yung routes na may shade para hindi masyadong ma-apektuhan yung factor na yun. So now it's time for the breakout room session of our event. Each room is composed of representatives from various stakeholders in Pasig. So we wanted a mixed group. The aim of the breakout room is to provide citizens with the chance to interact directly with the Pasig City government and to provide them with your recommendations directly to improve mobility in Pasig. Also to ensure that your thoughts are heard. So for those that nag-comment dun sa survey na ipaayos yung certain road or may pothole sa ganitong road, this is your chance to bring it up directly. So we've assigned everyone to 5 breakout rooms with a moderator from MBC. The moderator will ask you to introduce yourself and answer the following questions. So first question, if you were the mayor, if you were Vico, how would you improve biking in Pasig City? Number 2, what's the most important consideration when crafting policies to support biking in Pasig City? 3, is there anything else that Pasig Transport should consider to improve the commute of their citizens? So for question 3, it's not just about biking, it's also about your commute in general. So the moderator will read out loud each question and you'll discuss this amongst yourselves. Please ensure that everyone in your room has a chance to speak and has a chance to share their thoughts and ideas. So now we will send you into your breakout rooms. All right, I think everybody is back from their breakout rooms today. We'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts. And while we ask our moderators to summarize, let's just do a quick poll. Oops. All right, thanks to our backend for taking care of that. But before we get to the comments from the moderators, let's do a quick Zoom poll about biking in Pasig. So first Zoom poll. try that again. First Zoom poll should be coming up now. All right, so the question in the Zoom poll is, I consider myself a or strong and fearless cyclist, meaning you're quite well versed in riding a bike, or second option is only with a bike lane cyclist. Third option is a fair weather or weekend cyclist. And the last option is not all cyclists. So no way, no how will I bike. Okay, just waiting for the comments to come in. I think I am only with a bike lane cyclist because I am very slow and I'm still afraid of getting clipped by a car. So I really admire those that are super into it and are already super great at biking. Okay. All right. So I think I can show the questions, the results now. The results should be showing on your screen. So most of us in the room today are strong and fearless cyclists, 41%. So these cyclists are not afraid to bike on EDSA with or without bike lanes. Some of us are, like me, also just only with a bike lane cyclists. The next biggest group is a group of fair weather or weekend cyclists. But good that we also have people here that are not at all biking or not at all cyclists. Okay. Next question. Okay. So we'd also like to launch our second question, just to ask you a little bit more about your commute. So I generally, one, take a bus to work, take a taxi to work, take an angkas, or take a private vehicle to work. I take a bus or an angkas to work. I'd like to hear about what the others are also thinking, how they get to work, and if you think your commute has gotten a little bit harder lately.
Catch question.
Yeah.
Private vehicle includes bikes?
No, actually, I think we had framed the private vehicle as like an automobile. But thanks for pointing that out, Anton. That may be like a confusing bit. So let us know in the chat if you had answered the private vehicle bit thinking that it also included bikes. Most of the group here take a private vehicle to work, but that may be because there was some confusion also whether private vehicle included bikes. So next time we'll make sure to specify cars. Okay, 0% take an angkas to work. Some people take a taxi or I suppose a Grab to work. And some people take a bus to work. All right, thanks for letting us know. So with that, I think our moderators are ready. So could I call on the moderators from each room to share the insights they've gleaned during their team huddle? Let's start with room 1, Trisha or Zid.
Sure, thanks, Catch. Jid, feel free to chime in if I miss anything. But from our room in room 1, we had a diverse set of attendees, which led to a very fruitful exchange of insights. And basically, the discussion revolved around a more holistic approach to create a safe, sustainable, and inclusive transport ecosystem within Pasig City. And this heavily revolves or needs to include stronger PPP to incentivize and encourage more cycling or other sustainable ways to get to work or to their destinations. There was also talks about better enforcement or raising awareness of the policies that are actually in place to protect all commuters on the road. And another point that was made was improving overall infrastructure and making sure that infrastructure does not only focus on one mode of transport, but balances out all vehicles or commuters on the road. I could turn over to Jid in case I missed anything, but those are just some key highlights from our discussion. Jid, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I think you mentioned all the notes, and I think I agree with what you said. So yeah, and that's okay, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you. Turning now to group two, Zion, could you let us know what happened in your breakout room?
Yes, hello. So thank you to the people in my breakout room. You're very insightful. Question number one, if you were the mayor, how would you improve biking in Pasig? I think the main common sentiment that everyone shared is that active transport should be prioritized, not treated as an alternative, but instead a possible prioritized mode of transportation other than cars and other than commutes. Strict rules prioritizing active transport should be implemented, and more importantly, strictly followed and maintained. So that's basically the most common sentiment from our group. For question two, the most important consideration when crafting policies, which is also related to the presentation of the data analysis a while ago, is to mainly consider road safety, the rights of cyclists, to view the road as something that should be shared, and also instead of pointing out the pushbacks or instead of showing cyclists the pushbacks that can happen, show them the benefits of what cycling can give, and not only to cyclists but also the group B and group C who can still shift to being a group A cyclist. And then lastly, for question number three, is there anything else that Pasig Transport should consider to improve the commute of their citizens? The main insight here is constant communication. So there should be constant communication with nearby LGUs to promote how interconnectedness between the LGUs can take place. Also, communication with the commuters to see how they can continue to improve their service. Also, other comments included sharing the infrastructure with other parts of Pasig. So see Sir Lester, he brought up the Capitolio intersection. So maybe something that can be considered also is piloting this infrastructure as well as other bike lanes, speed bumps, and also other parts of Pasig, maybe in the lower area of Pasig, down near the City Hall. So and then lastly, another option was not really biking, but more P2P options, which can also be considered in the future. So that's all from our group. Thank you, Catch.
Thanks, Zion. Turning to the last group, Chris and Gita.
Thank you so much, Catch. And I'd also like to thank um, the participants who were in our breakout session. We had a really good mix of biking advocates, PWD back advocates, and the commuters. So it was a really good discussion where we learned a lot from each other on how Pasig can improve so that it will be more bike friendly. So for the top answers in our discussion room, we discussed to improve enforcement of road regulations to ensure the safety of bikers. They also suggested to engage all stakeholders in a dialogue to support bikers and ensure their safety, and implement policies that would encourage cycling. So this includes providing bike loans, providing 0% bike loans, engage business chambers, require bike parking in businesses, and even to include requirement of bike parking in their building code. And of course, allow bimodal transport. So this means installing bike racks in PUV. Another answer is after policy. They also recommend to institutionalize budget for bike programs for continuity of for continuity and sustainability. So some of the answers from here are standardized bike ramps and also improved bike lanes. And lastly, they also emphasize the importance of improving communications. So it was highlighted that changing mindsets takes time. So they recommend Pasig Transport to pick up the practice of using different methods, going on the ground communications, let people know more about Pasig Transport so that they would have a forum where commuters would be able to relay their concerns and suggestions. So that's it for my group. Thank you so much. And Vida, please feel free to add more if I missed anything.
Yeah, I'm good, Chris. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Catch.
Thanks, Vida and Chris. All right. So thanks everyone for sharing your insights for this topic. We will now be inviting Anton C, the head of Pasig Transport, to talk to us about the results of the survey, your feedback during the breakout rooms, and maybe what this means for Pasig City. So after speaking with him, we'll have the question and answer session. But please do start typing your sessions, your questions in the chat box. Okay. Hi, Anton. Before I turn to you, could I ask our back end, our tech guy, Sir Felix, could we please flash slide 15 of the layer tech presentation? Great, thank you. Right, so here's some flashing the key takeaways from layer tech presentation. The first one is that 68% of non-bikers are willing to bike to work if given a chance or if their concerns are resolved. And then the next slide, Sir Felix, please. Great. Okay. So these were the main takeaways from the survey. Are there any of the takeaways or any of the data that surprised you, or did you learn anything interesting today, Anton?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that really made me happy when I was in my breakout room was, well, of course, I mean, it always feels good to continue to hear that civil society cares very much about this issue and cares very much about making cycling more viable and safer. I think, you know, I think to be quite honest, if I said now that it was news to me that people wanted their cycling to be more safe, I think that would make me a very competent manager of cycling infrastructure. I think it's something that many people know at this point. It's something we're also aware of, and it's something which, you know, I admit we still have ways to go in terms of being able to implement good infrastructure properly. It's a again, as many people brought up, it's been a long, I guess, like kind of a journey in the Philippines towards improving transportation infrastructure. For a long time, we really were, I guess, like I wouldn't say locked, but I think many people at many levels of government were convinced that by prioritizing motor vehicles, that this was the right way of doing things. And I think it's only recently, I think one of the members in our breakout room even said that the boost in cycling from the pandemic was actually an unintended consequence. I think no one really realized at first that cycling would get the boost that it did during the COVID-19 pandemic. But you know, having gotten that boost and having made people aware of the benefits of cycling, I think there's now really a challenge and obligation for people in government to really do more about this. One of the things which I can share maybe is that we are looking forward to making further improvements to our cycling infrastructure and policy. One of the things which we will, which actually we're working on right now, is we hope to pass in Pasig a speed limit ordinance that will make cycling and all sorts of road use safer in Pasig. So I think everybody interested in the space, please watch for that. Once it gets to the council, it'll be an interesting discussion, and I think that'll make cycling a lot safer. We're also working on improving the condition of numerous intersections in Pasig. We do hope to replicate the Capitolio intersection in terms of making them safer for cyclists and pedestrians by improving and creating more at-grade crossings. That's something we're really looking forward to as well. So yeah, I guess for now this is something where maybe there isn't much new that I can say, but we're really glad for the support, and we're hoping that civil society can really be good allies for government in this.
Yeah, thanks, Anton. So it seems like out of the main concerns from the cyclists, which was safety and requests for road repair, you're basically saying that yes, Pasig Transport hears you and we're working on it. I'd also like to point out that other last insight from the last breakout room, which is sort of an on-the-ground campaign, or like more awareness campaigns around biking and biking to work specifically. Is there anything from the results that was like very alarming to you, or like was very surprising in a negative way?
Well, I think I wouldn't say like surprising in the negative way. I think we're always, I would say when you learn something unexpected, it's never really a cause for, it's really never a cause for, I guess, like disappointment. If your previous biases or prejudices are revealed to not be true when confronted with evidence, I think that's something everybody should celebrate, right? So
Mhm.
of course, I mean, it's something where you maybe we're saved from a bigger mistake by having your thinking be revealed to be out of touch with the evidence early on. I think that's great. But one of the things which I guess I was really happy to learn that I didn't quite expect is that maybe 68% of non-cyclists, or maybe quite a high percentage, would be willing to try cycling if they were if it was made easier for them. Now, I think maybe one thing which I guess in my mind I have as a caution for myself when looking at that number. Of course, the sort of non-cyclists who would answer a survey like this probably are those that have a more than I guess like more positive than average attitude towards cycling in general. But I think that really also reveals that there's great untapped potential in terms of the people out there that would like to get into cycling, but just are held back by a barrier of some kind. And I think it's really good to hear that people really want safer cycling and want safer intersections, and we're really trying to make sure that happens.
Great. Thanks so much, Anton. That was also a fun little tidbit that we got from the survey. I agree. Like I feel a lot of the 68% might be people that are interested in fitness, or people who are very concerned about gas prices that might just need that last little nudge to using their bike for work. All right. So I think we already talked about like your next steps, such as um the the ordinance to lower the speed limit. I'll just give you some time to talk about that now if you want to. And then afterwards we could turn to any questions we have for the audience and then close. So go ahead, Anton.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I think this is something which we've considered doing for a long time. And actually, one thing people aren't aware of is that there are speed limits already laid out in RA 4136, the General Land Transportation Traffic Code. It's something that people aren't aware of. But then basically on almost every street that isn't an expressway, you really shouldn't be driving faster than 40 kilometers per hour. And I think and this isn't the law. You can look it up. But one thing I guess maybe that will help improve compliance is if local governments passed their own speed limits that reflected the importance of safe road use and safe vehicle operation. This isn't anything particularly new. I mean, like everybody knows what a speed limit is because speed limits have been around for decades and quite more than a century at this point in some parts of the world. New York City, I think, recently famously started enforcing their 25 mile per hour or 40 kph speed limit. And of course, there's a wealth of evidence showing that lower speed limits actually not only do they make it less likely that people will die or get injured in a crash, they make crashes less frequent because when you're operating a vehicle at lower speeds, you have better reaction time. And lower speed limits can actually help decongest traffic by making walking and cycling safer. So if the speed limit is lower, then it's less scary to walk or cycle. Then you have more people taking less congestive modes of transport, and everybody actually gets to their destinations faster. So that's actually one of the things people don't realize. If everyone drives slower, everyone can actually move faster, and I think that's a really great insight. So it's something where yes, it's already in the law. Yes, I'm a firm believer that we all should already be complying with the adherence to RA 4136. But together with the City Council, we're going to work on passing a speed limit ordinance in Pasig just to make it more clear for everybody.
Thank you, Anton, for telling us more about that about the speed limits initiative. So looking forward to seeing how that pans out in Pasig. So I have a question for my colleague that she says was raised to her by Ricky when we met. Could we ask either Geeta to ask the question live, or perhaps Ricky if you'd want to ask that question live now?
Thanks, Catch. Yes, Mr. Ricky, if you would like to talk about it a little, but we during our discussion earlier, we mentioned that in narrow roads or narrow streets where it's already a small infrastructure to begin with, and then turning one of those lanes into a bike lane actually causes more congestion. Is there any plans of Pasig in those areas in terms of how to deal with bike infrastructure in narrow lanes in Pasig?
Sure. Okay, and I think maybe this is where I hope everybody reframes their mental models around small streets like this. Because when you have a small street there, and then people say that, oh, you can't put a bike lane there kasi masyadong makitid, it'll cause traffic. We have to actually ask what is causing the traffic there. And I don't think it's correct to say necessarily that putting a bike lane there will cause traffic, but that the fact that like a lot of these narrow streets were not designed for automobiles. I think a lot of the narrow streets in Pasig are quite historical. In Pasig's hundreds of year history, this is the same thing you see in other streets in old parts of the Philippines. They were never designed for automobile traffic to go fast, for people to drive around cars that are the size of living rooms, to go around some of these streets. So when we talk about what causes traffic on narrow streets, I wouldn't say it's because we're trying to accommodate bicycles, but then it's because we basically made it so that it's very easy to drive down some of these streets. Now, I'm not going to say that like we're going to put a protected bike lane on every single street, especially the very narrow ones. But I think maybe a more productive way to think about using these streets. Maybe we can look at models like the Woonerf streets in the Netherlands, where it's a narrow street. There isn't there isn't separated bike infrastructure, but on the street you have a very low speed limit. You have things like outdoor seating. You have things like trees, and you have various other engineering methods to make sure that cars behave like good guests on the street, and that the priority is for cyclists and pedestrians.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Anton. Sir Ricky, please let us know if you were able to answer your question. Otherwise, I'd just now like to thank Anton, Maki, and Frey for their insight today, and everybody for their participation. So before you go, we'd like to request a photo op with everyone. If the participants are comfortable, please do turn on your video, and I'll count 2 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, smile. And 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. Thanks, Anton, Maki, Frey, and all of you in the room for participating in Pasig Citizen Assembly on how they can help more people bike to work. I think we all, but certainly myself, I gained a lot of valuable insights on how we can improve bike mobility in Pasig and improve mobility in general, especially for commuters. So to help us improve, may I ask the audience to provide feedback on the event. You can scan the QR code on the screen. I think that should be the next slide. Or click the link my colleagues will place in the chat box. We'd also like to ask you to like our social media pages. We'll flash it also on the screen for more updates. So thanks everyone. Stay safe and have a good Thursday.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Anton.
Thank you. Anton, we have some good
thank you.
feedback from Sir Ricky here from PWDA Sumilao about on-the-ground awareness.
Okay, sige. Including CSR. Actually, parang malaking bagay ngayong motorcycle clubs. I think it's important to start involving them also. I think maybe 30% or more of households in the Philippines own motorcycles now. So it's going to be important also to get their views.
That's a big number. I didn't know it was that big. Okay, that's a good point moving forward. Motorcycle club presidents.
Yeah,
Thanks, Anton.
I think it's also
Thank you,
good for. Yeah, I think maybe also good for like MBC to take up, but we can discuss that in another meeting. I think it's important.
Great. Thanks, Anton.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Annika.
Coco. All right.
Thanks. Fun.
Oh, hi, Karen. I hope you're feeling better.